Chapter 10. The Odd Sisters. James was happy to return to his ship that night, away from the dead woods, and would be happier still once he was well away from the many kingdoms. As much as he enjoyed the ladies of the dead woods, he felt as if he could become lost there, drifting in and out of time like the beguiling women who called the beautiful and foreboding place home. The magic was thick in the air in this realm, and thicker still in the dead woods. He could breathe a bit easier the moment he left, but he longed to be once again at sea. Perhaps then he could shake the sadness that still clung to him. He couldn't stop thinking about what Circe and her aunts had said to him, that this was all part of the Odd Sisters' plan, and he wouldn't be happy in Neverland. He couldn't remember ever being happier than he had been when he was there as a small child. The thought of going to the place of his dreams and being unhappy there was unfathomable. It was all he'd ever wanted. And even though he thought the ladies of the Deadwoods were wise and powerful, they also seemed deeply troubled to him, and he convinced himself they weren't seeing his story clearly, and felt in his heart this life was his, and he had the power to direct it. James was happy to see that Smee had been busy while he was in the Deadwoods, gathering more provisions for their long journey to Neverland. He had prepared a feast of a dinner that was ready upon James's return, for which he was grateful, because all he had eaten that day was cake. As he sat there recounting the day and all the sights he had seen on his way, he wondered why it was he had never read of this land, or the strange witches that inhabited it. Part of him wondered if he should heed Circe's warnings. But then, how could he live with himself if he didn't see his dream through? Would he always see himself as a failure, too cowardly to travel to the place he always wanted to live? He wished Blackbeard were here. He would know what to do. It felt strange and lonely to take his meals in the captain's quarters alone. He had so many questions for him that would never be answered. Then he remembered the book of fairy tales. Surely the answers were in that great tome. And the moment it came to his mind, he heard a rattling sound coming from within the wooden box with the eye, which was on the other side of the room. He slowly made his way to the box, remembering Circe's and Blackbeard's warnings not to open it. Instead, he bent down and examined it, and when he brought his ear close, he realized he could hear voices coming from within. He stepped back quickly in shock. Then, gingerly, he picked it up and placed it on his bed. He sat there, watching it shudder and tremble, the voices within getting louder and shaking so violently it fell off the bed and opened. Lying on the floorboards among the other items that had spilled out was an ornately framed mirror with the face of a frightful-looking woman staring at him intensely. James recognized her instantly from the portrait in the Deadwoods, in the place of honor among the other queens of the dead. Now, though, she wasn't frozen in time. She was quite alive and animated, and she was laughing. James wondered how such a woman could be Circe's mother. She was disturbingly pale, with high cheekbones and overly large eyes. Her hair was black and curled into ringlets, and was adorned with red plumage that matched her lip color. She was wearing a silver necklace like Queen Circe's, the 3 phases of the moon, the full moon at its center. "Hello, James," said the woman in the mirror. "I am Lucinda, Circe's mother. I see you have already betrayed my daughter and Blackbeard by opening the box." She narrowed her eyes at him. He quickly gathered the things up, shoved them in the box, and slammed the lid closed again. A cacophony of laughter came from within, so loud James was afraid his crew would hear it. "I didn't open the box. You did by knocking it onto the floor. What do you want?" he asked, opening the box slowly and revealing the woman's face in the mirror. "That is my question to you, James. What is your heart's desire?" "As I told your daughter, I want to go to Neverland," he said. He was certain he could hear 2 other voices screeching in the mirror aside from Lucinda's, but he could not see them. "And what of your poor mother, James? What of your ancestral home? What of the promise you made to yourself when you were in your watery grave? Have you forgotten your duty? She smiled eerily, and then the image in the mirror shifted, showing his mother in mourning clothes, crying and alone in her sitting room. "What's happened to my mother? Who died?" he asked, grasping the mirror's gilded frame. "Your father has drifted beyond the veil, leaving her alone to fend for herself. She will soon lose her home if you don't help her." James could not bear Lucinda's insipid smile, and something about her eyes frightened him. There was something else stirring behind her eyes, and it seemed to him her smile was a contorted mask holding back madness. This woman frightened him. "Surely things have not progressed so far in the short time I've been away," James said. He felt frantic, helpless, regretting he was not there to help his mother. Even if he didn't want the life she had planned for him, he wouldn't go back on his word. He wouldn't let her be ruined. "Time runs differently here, James. Though you've been here a day, many years have passed in the human realm." He couldn't fathom how so much time had passed in his own world, while he was in this one. And he became anxious for his mother, reminding himself of his promise. He didn't want to delay his trip to Neverland, but decided he'd better talk to his men about planning a raid or going back to where the dreaded queen had sunk into the ocean to see if they could retrieve its treasure. "But you already have the treasures you need at your fingertips. Take the contents of this box to London and sell all but the mirror and iron clock to that shop in Eaton Square. It will be more than enough for your mother to pay the death duties and save the estate. Then you can go to Neverland as you wish," said Lucinda. "I've already made a deal with Circe. She is sending me to Neverland," said James. "Are you sure she will keep her promise, James? I know she tried to talk you into staying in the Deadwoods. What's to stop her from going back on her word? Queen Circe doesn't seem like a liar to me. I think she will keep her promise, though I doubt you would should I ever be foolish enough to make a deal with you. We have no intention of going back on our promise, James. Unlike Circe, we want you to go to Neverland. It, too, is our greatest wish to send you there, because we want you to bring us Tinker Bell in exchange for your true wish." In that moment, he felt he understood their motivations for wanting him in Neverland, and he didn't understand why Circe didn't share that with him. Perhaps she was trying to protect the fairy. He didn't know, but to James, it didn't seem like a sinister plot that involved him other than getting the Odd Sisters something they wanted in exchange for what he truly wanted. "What do you want with Tinker Bell?" he asked. He knew who Tinker Bell was. She was in all of Peter Pan's stories, the ones he had learned as a young boy. Tinker Bell was one of Peter's greatest companions. Neverland wouldn't be the same without her. "She belongs in the many kingdoms, James. She was sent from here many years ago by her own ilk, never to return. You are right to think Circe is trying to protect the fairy, but Tinker Bell is not that fairy. She is in league with the fairies who banished her, and now the poor dear is lost and adrift in Neverland. We simply wish to bring her home again," said Lucinda. "What if she doesn't want to come back?" asked James, narrowing his eyes at Lucinda as he remembered Circe's warnings about her mothers. "Then you take her by force. The High Fairy of this land took her memories of this place. Once the Tinker Fairy returns, she will be happy to be home again. You know what it's like to be far from the place you hold dear in your heart," said Lucinda, feigning sympathy as best she could. He did know how the poor fairy felt. He had felt that way since he had been snatched from Neverland. Maybe somewhere inside, Tinker Bell felt this sense of loss too, but didn't know why because her memories had been taken from her. But he wondered if the witch was being honest. He seemed to remember knowing that Tinker Bell was from Neverland, but it was a memory faded into the thin mist of his childhood time in Neverland so long ago. "If you agree to this, we will give you the magic fairy dust you need to get to Neverland, though we only have enough to get you there. You will need Tinker Bells to get you back. If you don't capture her, you will be trapped in Neverland forever," she said, her head oddly tilted to one side, as if she was listening to someone else as she was talking to him. The idea of being trapped in Neverland forever didn't sound like a terrible fate. That was exactly what he wanted. Though he still didn't see why he should help the Odd Sisters when he could just as easily give Cersei what she wanted in exchange for passage to Neverland. We have the power to grant your true wish, the one hiding within your soul. The wish my daughter refuses to give you, said Lucinda, laughing. Do you truly? If you could give me my greatest wish, my secret desire, then I will do as you ask, he said, wondering if he was doing the right thing. Part of him wanted to leave this place with Blackbeard's treasures, never to return, and find another way to Neverland. He felt like he was not only betraying Cersei, but also Blackbeard. And yet, he didn't feel he had another choice. Selling Blackbeard's treasures would ensure his mother's future, and if Lucinda had the power to send him to Neverland and grant his secret wish, the one she and Cersei saw buried deep within his heart. Go back to London and sell that treasure as quickly as you can. The items in that box are cursed, and you do well to be rid of them as quickly as possible. Once you do, you will be free to go to Neverland. He hated betraying Blackbeard and the ladies of the Deadwoods, but he saw no other way to save his mother and get what he truly wanted. I will do as you ask, he said. That's a good boy, Lucinda said. We will tell you where to find the magic you need to get to Neverland once you are finished with your business in London. And then peals of laughter with peals of laughter she disappeared from the magic mirror. James felt a cold shiver penetrate his body again. He wondered if this was how everyone who dealt with the Odd Sisters felt, and then he remembered what Blackbeard had said, and he thought perhaps he was just afraid because he was one step closer to realizing his dream.